Does that sound familiar? Or maybe you've gone up to knock on someone's door and you've hit them with a bit of a... Without a doubt, you have heard this in some kind of variation before. For some reason, everybody has. And I was thinking to myself, what is it? What is this rhythm and melody that seems to have crawled its way into every person's life in one way or another? Well, it's called Shaving a Haircut, and according to Matthew Vincent from ludwigvan.com, it originated from the song At a Darktown Cakewalk by Charles Hale, which was released all the way back in 1899. What it is what's known in music as a call and response, where the first 5 notes are the call from one person or instrument, and the following 2 is a response from another. For example... By the way, just before we keep going, it's called Shaving a Haircut because of the words lining up with it. Shaving a haircut. Yes, please. There's surprisingly very little information online about Charles Hale the musician, and also just the song itself, so it's hard to know how successful the song was when it was released. The only thing I am able to find to indicate how successful the song was is from what I can gather is a flyer for buying the sheet music for the song itself so that people can go home and learn it. On the flyer it says that the song is the popular hit of the season, so I would think it probably did have a fair amount of success, but then also you have something like Madam Web come out and it's like, this is the movie that you've all been waiting for.
The blockbuster hit of the summer. The movie that has to be seen to be believed.
And half of the people don't know any of the characters. And even me, someone who is well known to know a lot about all of that shit, still looks at 2 people and I'm like, I don't know who 2 of you are. And there's 4 of you. I don't get it. Why are we here? Why is it always back here? I have a problem, man. Look at this fucking thing. You can kind of see it. It looks like I'm pointing at George Bush when I do that. That's probably, it's not his fault. But how did it end up becoming such a well-known rhythm? Well, after its initial release, it looks like the next time it popped up was in the song On the 515 by Bill Murray in 1915. This song is a story of a man trying to catch the 515 train to get to work. But what's interesting is that the shave and a haircut melody is used at the start and at the end of this song. Given that this song is supposed to be a satire and is poking fun at the train system itself, I would assume that this is where this melody started to become associated with comedy. Again, I don't know that, I am just solely guessing. The reason I can't say for certain that the original song was comedic is because it doesn't have any lyrics, but based on Darktown being a general term for a black neighborhood back in the late 18 to early 1900s, I would guess that the vibe might be more along the lines of a song about black people in Alabama. The melody continues to gain popularity after this, and it ended up being referenced in the 1933 book Prisoner the Mayor. Since then, it's been used in so many things. There is just a wall of text on Wikipedia showing just a sample of the countless pieces of media that references shave and a haircut. Some of the ones that stood out to me included Johnny's theme for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and it used this melody and rhythm combo for 30 years. It was used in Frank Sinatra's song Love and Marriage, the first 3 seasons of Barney the Dinosaur, and more recently, Cassian does the 5-note knock in the Star Wars show Andor. It is undeniable the extent of this riff, that's a little music term that we use, just how far it's spread, and it even spread to places you wouldn't expect, like Vietnam. America lost that war. Yes, by that of course I mean among the Americans during the Vietnam War is how it got there, but it made it. From that Wall Street Journal article, it documents a story told by Ernest C. Brace, who was the longest held civilian prisoner during the Vietnam War. From the article where Brace is retelling his story, he explains that I was sitting on the floor with my back against the inside wall when I heard a tapping on the wall behind me. It was the rhythm of shave and a haircut, but the 2 bits was missing. I sat there thinking, that's nice. There must be an American next door. I like that. That's just a shining light for him. It's like, I got a little break in between my beatings here, and it's nice to know that there's friends around. He continues, the shave and a haircut was tapped again. This time I replied with the 2 bits, which seemed the natural thing to do. From this story, we can already gather that this isn't just a pattern that gets used in media. This is something that your average person on the street is aware of, and at that time, based on Brace's story, people probably knew it by name. So what happened? How did this melody end up becoming something that people know the tune of, but have no idea what it actually is? This is all purely speculation now on my end, but I think it's just because of how much it is referenced in media, without the original ever really being brought up. For example, and I don't have any proof of this, but I just have this image in my head of Alan Harper from 2.5 Men knocking on his ex-wife's door, like cockily, like using that rhythm. I can also vaguely distinctly remember this being one of the tunes that gets played by the barbershop duo on Family Guy. And for some reason, I just believe that Bart Simpson has also done this too. Like, it's one of those things that it's probably happened so much that you just can't, like, remember specifics of it. There is more than likely instances outside of just the knocking pattern where I have heard that melody before and just forgotten about it. This is something that is scattered across all media, but nobody stops to point out what it is. I think a good example of this is something like saying, "Luke, I am your father." People currently know that whoever said that is talking about Star Wars. Even if you don't know the specifics of which movie, which scene, or even which character said it, most people are gonna understand that as a reference. The difference between the two that I can see solely just comes down to time. There's not a doubt in my mind that when Johnny Carson's musicians added "Shave and a Haircut" into his theme, that they would be able to, at minimum, name the melody. The same way that in a POW camp, Ernest Brace was able to listen to the knocking pattern and identify it by name. The difference is, both of those two things happened very close to one another. The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson started in 1962, and Brace's capture during Vietnam was in 1965. I honestly think that in that era, even at that point almost 70 years after that tune was written, people just knew what it was. The same here with the example I use, with the reference like "Luke, I am your father." The fact as well that that quote isn't even accurate with the movie goes to show that the reference itself is recognizable even with people who haven't seen the movie, the same way that "Shave and a Haircut" is recognizable with people who don't know the name of it. "Shave and a Haircut" is still something that gets used. Not that long ago, okay, maybe like 20 years ago, it was getting used as like a ringtone on Nokia phones. It has never gone away, but its origins just seem to have become more obscure. But what I think is really interesting is what this could mean for us. Even now, things like bruh, yeet, I don't know, the Josh Wine meme. I feel like the amount of people that know the origins of these things gets smaller and smaller as more people learn about them. And people who once knew just forget. I'm old enough, fuck me, that's a hard way to start that sentence. I'm old enough to have lived in a world pre-yeet. And it wasn't until writing this that I remember the Vine that started the meme. I actually don't even know if it was a Vine or not. It might have been past Vine. I honestly can't even tell you where the Josh thing came from. Is it just that the Josh is a person's name and it's also a wine? Because they're about to lose their shit when they hear about Johnny Walker. I am at ground zero for Josh and have no idea what the fuck it is. Maybe there were people like that when "Shaving a Haircut" was popularized too. I think this might be one of the first, at least for me personally, like famous references that has outlasted people and yet the meaning of it is gone. And that's what I think is going to eventually happen to a lot of these things that we have. I know that personally from living in Australia all my life, you can say to someone, "Let's hit the Frog and Toad," and they get what you mean. But most people probably don't know where that originated from. Like, thinking about it, there's probably a heap of stuff in a similar vein to this, but I don't think there is anything that is as far reaching as "Shave and a Haircut." Everyone knows this. At some point, everyone has heard this, and more than likely, you have even done this knocking on someone's front door. I hope you found this as interesting as I did, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.